That's right. It's another late night and time for another reach into the Just Giggle It grab bag. And tonight we're pulling out, reaching really in there, Law and Order, period parody. Just Giggle It sketch number 36. Huh. Well, there's a familiar face. Sweet Vera Farmiga. It's here! Dinky! Dinky!
What? I'm just getting done getting pissed off at the world watching When They See Us Dragon. What? Please tell me you have something that'll actually uplift my entirely depressed mood right now, Dragon.
All right, Tiki, so get this. I was reaching in the grab bag, as we tend to do around here. I was reaching in, and I found a sketch, not just any sketch, a parody, and it may not be directed by him, but guess who's in it? It's Joshua Thomas. How coincidental. Tiki, it's another Joshua...
Hold up. Hold the phone. From what I know about this sketch, it's Law and Order, so you're telling me that Joshua Thomas plays a cop?
Something like that, yeah.
I just got done watching a whole depressing show about cops. I need a palate cleanser, Dragon. This is perfect. This is right up my alley.
But Tiki, you see what the grander scope of this is. It's another sketch in a line of sketches where we've been talking about Joshua Thomas. Do you have any earthly idea what this means?
Okay, hold on. I'm checking with Crunk. Any ideas? Crunk? I don't know. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense. All right. I don't know. What does it mean? Dragon?
It's the Josh Thoma-thon.
Josh Thoma-thon. That's right. Let the Thoma-thon rage on.
This is why we leave improv to the professionals. All right. So, that's right, folks. It's the next installment in the Josh Thoma-thon. We're very excited to be here, and we have a very recent, awesome development with Just Giggle It that I'd like to share with all you fine folks today. So, Tiki, I don't know if you're privy to this, but recently Just Giggle It's been trying to get a lot of, as we've tended to mention, very, very occasionally we mention this little thing called Harley, Quinn, and the Joker versus the real world. You know, this little YouTube web series that's sweeping the nation, that's changing hearts and minds, that's kind of doing Harley Quinn and the Joker right. We live in a world of proto-Jokers, but you know what? Sometimes we want the real thing, darn it. And Joshua Thomas and company have delivered that in spades. Not only is Just Giggle a sketch channel beyond compare, but also it does a web series that is also beyond compare. Go figure. Anyway, so recently, of course, you're going to watch the show, you're going to become hooked, you're going to get all the way to episode 5, and you're going to ask yourself, well, where's 6? And before you tie your fingers by typing in, like, where's episode 6? Stop sitting around and give me episode 6. Well, folks, these hardworking, fine people, episode 6 is at the ready. It's in the can. It's waiting, folks, but they're waiting to get it to 1 million views. But good news, you're only going to have to wait half as long because it's official, Tiki. By Wednesday of next week, they will have reached, hopefully over, but by the same token, they'll have reached 500,000. They will have reached 500,000. They'll have reached 500,000 views, which means, Tiki, we get a trailer. That's right, folks. Next Wednesday, if you're wondering what episode 6 is going to look like, you're going to see it live. Next Wednesday, Harley Quinn the Joker, episode 6. We're going to get a little teaser, a little trailer, a little sneak peek at the action. And it's going to be
something that we really need to kind of be zeroed in on and kind of be on the front lines for, like, do a podcast on it immediately afterwards. Can we lock that in?
I think it would be a good idea, yes.
All right.
So the point being, it's going to premiere live for all to kind of talk up Joshua Thomas and company with as it airs, and of course just kind of react to it live, and then Tiki and I'll be kind of covering, then kind of breaking it down shot by shot, hopefully kind of chatting some people with some theories and such and possibilities. We'll illuminate the possibilities, one could say. And so it's going to be fantastic. Again, folks, it's just hopefully perfect world, Tiki. It's absolute perfect world. I know it's so fleeting, but I'm just going to go on a flight of fantasy here, okay? That trailer premieres. Hopefully there will be a link within that trailer. People are going to watch the trailer. They're going to lose their minds. They're going to want to rewatch the episode because of that trailer, which ideally means 500,000 people, which we know at least... I don't want to be all Captain Algorithm. That's usually Tiki's bag. But the point being, let's just say all all the many subscribers that Just Giggle It has, perhaps they would all come across this trailer, and at least half of those guys would watch it and refresh themselves on the episode 5 that will refresh them for episode 6, and hopefully at least half of that amount will bring them to 1 million, which means perfect world by the end of the month, even, or by the end of the month, or July, or at the very least, ballparking in the broad spectrum. By the time the Joaquin Phoenix Joker comes out, at least,
Oh God,
we'll have the next episode of Harley Quinn the Joker versus the real world. We're living a time.
Hold on. Let me check with Crunk here. Makes sense, Crunk? Makes sense. Yeah, Crunk's giving me the heads up, Dragon. He's giving me the thumbs up. He's getting the big thumbs up from Poppy. We're good to go.
The thumbs up from Poppy. But seriously, isn't that mind-blowing? Isn't that cool? I mean, we're so close. Folks, you're so close you can taste it. Just share that video around, get the word spread. Even get the word spread on the trailer. Because we get some buzz going. We're going to have some tangible results, man. After those tangible results, hopefully have even more concrete tangible results. We're building a foundation. We'll have a skyscraper overnight. If we're lucky. Who knows? Age of miracles, age of wonders. Post-endgame world, all is possible.
All right, so with that in mind, Dragon, transitioning into the actual sketch. And by the way, folks, I just want to shout out Joshua Thomas for premiering that on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday, just making both our lives easier all around. It's like he knows what he's doing there. But anyways, so Law and Order period, Dragon. This is one that I've kind of I don't know. It's not that it's bad. It's just that it's got kind of like a. Suffice to say, Dragon, you and I, we don't have we don't have that much experience in this territory, Dragon. So it's I don't know. I feel like this it's a little bit I don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about this kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, look, I
are
think
you that intimidated by Law and Order?
Break it down, but
are you that intimidated of Law and Order?
I'm not saying it in a sexual way. I'm just saying it in kind of like a gross out humor kind of way. It's like I'm just not a fan of gross out humor in general, and so I don't know. Generally speaking, with this sketch, it doesn't go for the gross out element at all, for sure. It kind of subverts that. Whereas most period jokes, we see where it's like, the classic example, Dragon, to me of a period joke that I hate is during Superbad, where I don't know. I think it's like McLovin is dancing with the girl, and then she gets period blood on him, and she kind of like bitching out, "Oh, you got period blood on me. You're so weird." And I'm just like, "Oh, really? This is what we're doing with this? Like, we're resorting to this type of humor?" Dragon, this is a period joke in the grand Just Giggle It fashion, my friend. Much like they made a fart joke relevant and almost Oscar-worthy with their Quiet Place parody, Dragon, they have made period humor entertaining and topical and honestly a little bit thought-provoking. Dragon, looking at the sketch, you see I kind of did a 180 on my original or my original pitch there, Dragon. Looking at the sketch again, really diving into it a few times, I gotta say it's not one of my favorites in the JGI canon. But it does have a really standout performance from Josh Thomas, which of course we'll break down as we go along. And it's I think if anything else, it's got kind of an interesting almost dystopian flair to it by the end, Dragon, which I'm very curious to get your opinion on as we kind of break down sort of the darker implications of where the sketch goes. So, what are your feelings on this one, Dragon?
Well, real quick, I just wanted to hit something just remarkably coincidental. Look, you referencing Superbad just now.
Yes.
Specifically that scene.
Yes.
I just today, just by happenstance, because I'd seen Long Shot recently. I watched this thing just keeps popping up in like recommended videos for like Seth Rogen's GQ interview. I think it was for GQ or something. Where basically
yeah, I know what you're talking about. The Seth Rogen breaks down his most famous roles.
Exactly.
Yes.
And they covered that exact scene where they're talking about Superbad, and I was just when you brought that up, I was like, oh my god, how coincidental! Literally this very day.
Dragon, that's what I mean. Look, I like Superbad. I don't love Superbad. I definitely don't love it as much as a lot of people do. But that's one. The thing about Superbad to me is that it goes a little bit too over the top with the crude humor, and like I said, something like this is done very tastefully and almost kind of gets like to the thought provoking realm of, exactly what a menstrual cycle can do to a woman and how it affects a family. And it's Dragon, I gotta say, I'm very impressed by the ambitious route that they took with it in terms of just like it's a very depressing setup by the end of it.
Yep, it's kind of the minstrel show of minstrel shows, one could say. Yeah. No. But all seriousness, so this, here's the thing. So here's what I want to get into is I am somewhat of a fan of Law and Order. Now here's the thing. I want to be very specific. Of course, Law and Order is one of those properties that is kind of this odd infinitum of spinoffs. You want to be technical. There are only 3 that count, but apparently there's like a whole bunch of like kind of mini subsects. Basically, they'll do like kind of like TV movies, like mini series that are under the Law and Order name. Like I can't remember if the Menendez thing was under Law and Order or not. I can't remember, but they've done that from time to time. Regardless, the 3 kind of like brand new shows that count, because many times they'll take on like something that's based on a real case, and that will kind of lead to either a mini series or again just like these events are based on a real case. One of those things.
Oh.
You have us as Law and Order, which this, in essence, like I think Smart Money's on this being like the parody of the original, just kind of straight Law and Order. It's kind of pretty standard. Like the one that gave birth to all, like like Las Vegas, like the Vegas version of CSI, like that sort of thing.
Sure.
Then there's one I'm more familiar with. There's Law and Order Special Victims Unit. That's about the sex crimes, and that's about basically the most despicable crimes are on SVU. And then you have Criminal Intent, which is what built up D'Onofrio's name. D'Onofrio was on Criminal Intent. So, point being, it's so funny because literally when I was basically, I grew a great love for cop procedurals, and that I've seen my fair share of procedurals, but there's certain like kind of like institutional procedurals I kind of avoided in life that basically I was kind of at my workplace that just kind of like the TV is on, and basically just they'll just kind of play marathons of the shows, and sometimes you're just kind of stuck with a certain cop show on certain times, and that's basically how I grew to become fascinated and in love with Blue Bloods. I'm head over heel for Blue Bloods because of that, and then here's the thing: I lived for Blue Bloods when I watched through all Blue Bloods just in reruns. Then I would just watch it as it would come on live because it got me hooked on it. But the thing is, so then on like Saturdays, SVU would come on. SVU again, Tiki. Speaking of the and then they see us. What's it called? What's it? The Netflix show. What's the Netflix show called? Is it They See Us? Is that what it is?
The Netflix show? The Law and Order Netflix show?
No, the thing with the new show with Vera Farmiga, the one about the Central Park 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. When They See Us. Yeah.
When They See Us. Anyway.
My bad.
Speaking of, When They See Us, really, again, like SVUs is sort of like those, like kind of the horrific tales. Like this, again, these are the most despicable. Like, oh my god, it's like everything's like that. That was a show with like no happy endings. It was basically, if they got justice, it was like still a real downer of an episode. That was the thing I just kept having with SVUs. Like, oh god, it's gripping stuff. It's just so sad every time. It's just so depressing. It's I don't know.
That's the vibe I get when I watch When They See Us.
Precisely. So the point being, like, I think had this been about that, I think I would have gotten a little bit more out of it. But just basically, Law and Order original. That's where Jesse L. Martin really kind of gets a lot of that. That's where he gets his licks.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Jesse L. Martin, Dragon. It's kind of funny because, look, I didn't watch a ton of Jesse L. Martin era Law and Order, but I watched a fair amount of it, just kind of like passingly in the background, just when I was really in my redhead phase. And yes, I had a redhead phase, and I'm embarrassed about it. But, back when I was just in love with Rent, and I was just like, oh my god, I want to follow all these people's careers. And as you know, Dragon, Jesse L. Martin is one of the Rent cast members who's had one of the more interesting trajectories. Of course, the other big ones being Idina Menzel and Taye Diggs.
Yep.
So,
of course, Jesse L. Martin, just lovely on The Flash. Just can't get enough of Jesse L. Martin.
Favorite Alan.
The world may need the Flash, but I need my Barry Allen. Oh goodness. Anyway, sorry. Point being, like, I basically I've seen the promos and stuff. I've maybe seen an episode or two of the original Law and Order, but again, anything I've really seen was kind of from the middle, and occasionally I'd see some D'Onofrio scenes from Intense. The point being, like, this one didn't quite hit me in like the familiar. Again, this is kind of I kind of came into this semi-blind. Like, I get the gist of Law and Order. I know the kind of the staples, and I know the procedural elements because at least I'm familiar with one Law and Order show. And you got to remember, the original Law and Order went on for 20 seasons, so there's a lot of, that's the thing. It went on for 20 seasons.
Yeah, it's kind of like ER or one of those shows that just kind of has it has almost different eras. You know what I mean? The legacy kind of becomes that complicated.
Exactly. And remember, the cell line for this one is everyone needs to be held accountable for their actions. And it's pretty much what the that's the cell line for this one. I think it comes into play. And again, it sounds almost like a Law and Order sort of premise, but of course with grand absurdity kind of inserted into it, one could say.
And honestly, Dragon, I don't want to put too much stock into this, but I do kind of think that Joshua Thomas just really wanted to play a hot-headed cop.
Well, he is pretty good at it, you got to admit.
Oh, he really is, yeah.
But here's the thing, the specific hot-headed cop. Now, here's the thing. As far as I could tell, and again, bear in mind, this is the one I'm not familiar with. So, again, there's like 20 seasons, so I could be wrong. By all means, I really could be wrong on this. But I think what Joshua Thomas is going for here is that, so I believe he's doing an impression of one of the mainstays for Law & Order, basically one of the OG Law & Order kind of leads. Like, I don't, he wasn't there from the beginning, but he stole the show for like, a lot of these shows, like a lot of times the main guy will leave after a certain point, then they kind of get a new main guy. And they're like with CSI, and they had like Gil Grissom, who I loved, and then they brought in Lawrence Fishburne, who was great, and then you bring in Ted Danson. Nothing against Ted Danson, I love him now in The Good Place, and of course, in later looking back on it, Cheers. But let me put it to you this way: it was iffy. Point being, you have. One of the mainstays here was Lenny Briscoe. And Lenny Briscoe is played by Jerry Orbach, who unfortunately passed away in 2004. And he was in like seasons, I think, 3 to 14 out of the 20 out of the 20 seasons. And the point being, like, the way he looks with the coat, and then basically he was like the quippy, he was like one of the original quippy detectives. It was like one of the original.
I know the character you're talking about. I can envision him. Yeah.
That's the thing. Josh Thomas's character's name is, I believe, Detective Parks, which, as far as I could find, is not an actual existing character. So again, like, I guess they didn't want to.
Dragon, I don't necessarily feel like this sketch was meant to be like, it wasn't like the Pokemon one or the Disney Villains one, where it's like it was clearly like made for fans of the property it's parodying. I think with Law and Order, like I said, if anything, it was just kind of like taking the general parameters of like Law and Order, kind of like the attorneys and the courtroom battle and the the evidence and everything, and kind of really just folding it into an excuse for Joshua Thomas to play a hot-headed cop. I really we'll ask him about it, of course, but I really do think that the hot-headed cop thing is probably the genesis for the sketch.
Right. So that's the thing. So before I get into like the last bit of background here, so I kind of circumvented what you were asking me there. So overall, how do I feel about it? I mean, look, overall, I mean, overall, I think I really admire how clever this thing really is clever, and I do think it gets into some really great kind of JGI satire, and I think it's really smart about what it's saying. And the ending does have a really, again, kind of a classic JGI twist, as per the pattern. But by the same token, though, again, I feel it's not one of their best parodies, and like that's probably why we haven't gotten to it in regards to the other parodies. The other ones are a little bit more eye-catching, a little bit more like notable, and this one, there's
one parody, Dragon. There's still one that we have yet to get to.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Point being, again, some parodies can range, especially when you get in the early JGI. And again, this is kind of not early, but it's like in the kind of the late 30s for JGI. So the point being, like, I do like a lot of it, and again, I think the performances are strong. I think it's nailing. Basically, I think it's parodying the procedurals more than it's parodying Law and Order. Because again, even knowing the little I know about Law and Order, the original Law and Order, I do see some chinks in the armor in this one. Like, not the most top-notch parody, in their in their arsenal. But anyways, a little bit of background here. Again, very little background that I can speak to on this. So this is directed not by Joshua Thomas for a change. This was directed by kind of the king of parody over at JGI. It was directed by Brian Wiley.
Brian Wiley. There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Of course, famed for of course, I think the two parodies that come to mind. One being the Twilight Zone parody. That's one of the big stands for Brian Wiley. He also did the not much of a parody, but he did the DiCaprio. The Leo should have won an Oscar. I believe.
Okay, you know what? That's a different kind of parody.
True.
Like, that is absolutely a parody of a subsect of people that I myself have run into, at least online. So, by all intents, I have strong feelings about that Leo one. Strong positive feelings.
And if I'm recalling correctly, he also did the Walking Dead parody, which you also had strong feelings about.
Well, maybe strong feeling. I mean, honestly, the best thing about the Walking Dead parody, Poncio kind of just comes in and saves it, just like, "You smell, Rick." Oh, those were the early JGI grab bag days, Dragon.
So Tika, this is actually kind of a trident of a direct we have a different director, writer, and editor for a change here. So we have Brian Wiley directing this.
Joshua Thomas isn't wearing multiple hats.
He's just wearing one tiny fez, Tiki.
Gad.
Well, I mean that, and he's acting it, so maybe kind of like a fez and a vest, one could say. Anyway, so we have Brian Wiley directing. We have Piper Hinson writing this.
Okay.
I believe the last one of the last notable things that Piper Hinson wrote was the "You Can't Do That" sketch. Remember, "You Can't Do That" with the Katie Garland sketch? Like, you can't do that whole thing. Yeah. Anyway, so Piper Hinson wrote this, and Joshua Thomas edited it, as well as kind of as one of the stars in it. Okay. So all right. Let's get right into it then. Let's just break it down. So, search engine. Man, I missed the search engine. Now, personally, I still love the search engine.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Bring it back. Anyway, so search engine. What's typed into the search engine, Tiki?
Period.
I was going to make a joke at the start of this thing, but I think certain improvs might have distracted me. And that might have been myself included. But I was going to say, like, oh boy, Law and Order period, Perry. Fingers crossed for the 90s. So anyway, I honestly I expected that to be kind of the maybe like a double entendre joke of, like, period in the sense of that, but also period in the sense of, is it going to be like a certain certain period struck with it? I don't know.
Oh, like a certain era, you mean?
Yeah. At the very least, I wonder if that's what they were going for.
All right, so Parks lays a file on the desk, slams.
No, wait. We start the way every Law and Order starts, Tiki. We had the chunk sound.
Cha-chung.
Awesome. Okay, yes, you were saying.
You did it.
Yes. So he's sitting down with also another JGI alum, a big one, who actually Josh Thomas has some plans with. We have the wonderful Emma Leonard is in this sketch, Tiki.
Nice. Yeah.
We haven't seen Emma Leonard since Waiter. Well, one of the notable things that she's really done was a Waiter Flurry. That's a really funny one that she's in, and of course she currently, to kind of plug it a little bit here, I wonder if it's going to go down like the Robo-Stitute that Piper Hinson's currently directing, but another kind of, hopefully like a short film, perhaps. Like, it's going to be like a pilot or a sketch or a short film, one of the three. It's going to be Earth's Do-Over, which is going to star Joshua Thomas and Emma Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Detective Parks. He's throwing his badge down. He's interrogating a blood-covered woman.
How dramatically it starts. It's like, you can tell Joshua Thomas is just like really getting right into it, and he's just having a ball with it.
Yeah, so he's interrogating the blood-covered woman. You did it! And then we have this flat delivery by Emma Leonard. I love how she just... This is the thing. It's like, this is not so much a parody of just kind of like your person in interrogation, but I just love how just kind of flatly, and again, basically what she's doing is quite brilliant here, Tiki. She's just playing like this really absurd situation, but again, she doesn't really want to talk about it. Because I guess in the procedural sense, like everyone is always holding back something to save face in the interrogation. That's usually how the classic interrogation scene goes. Before it's like, I don't have anything to hold her on, but I'm going to get her back by the third act, and we're going to have some big reveals and talks and stuff. Like, I'm going to get them back. The reveal of detail is going to lead to catching the bad guy. That's usually how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So the point being, she just doesn't want to get in the whole period of it all here. So she's just saying, just very flatly, no, I didn't.
Well, then, explain the blood on your hands. You literally have blood on your hands.
We have the big shot, basically the kind of the shot that we see here when he's talking about the blood on the hands.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I got to be honest. I mean, again, early JGI blood. How do you feel about how the blood turned out?
It's not. It's not great.
I'll put it to you this way: I think the blood on her face looks a lot more. Here's the thing. Here's the weird thing, Tiki. Okay, get ready for this. They're actually. I'm gonna give them credit here. I mean, that could be purely coincidental, but there is actually a little bit of blood spatter pattern working. Given the crime, the spatter on her face is indicative of the crime. So I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. The facial blood, I think, looks a lot better, and again, is indicative of some actual vague forensic science. But blood on her hands, though, it just looks really like the hands look weirdly wet. It looks like just I don't know. The blood did not turn out well on her hands. And given it's like the main thumbnail shot of the whole thing, that doesn't quite help.
Yeah, and honestly, Dragon, I feel like that's kind of like one of those things. I hate to say it, but it might kind of have led to us not wanting to cover it because it's just not a very flattering thumbnail.
All right. So, okay, let's see. So, just usually no, I didn't. You have blood on your hands. Of course, we have the shot. I tripped. And of course, now this is Joshua Thomas really conveying, again, to my money, as far as I could see, again, with based on the fact that Lenny Briscoe, he would wear, he'd wear a trench coat like this, and he would be, again, all bubbly and just kind of like really kind of like all the funny one-liners in the interrogation like this. It's kind of like a more cynical Columbo, one could say. That's kind of what he's doing.
Tripped on your knife, and it happened to land in your boyfriend. Yeah, that sounds really plausible.
But I love the way you said, this is the thing that cracks me up about here, like the, oops, into my boyfriend. Oh God! So of course, why would I stab my lying, cheating, a-hole boyfriend? And then this is what the editing really comes into play
Just
here.
a great beat, Dragon. Great time in here.
So we have the intense interrogation music playing, but it's just brilliant here with the sound design as well. We just kind of stop it, we pause it, and we said just Joshua Thomas just kind of process. And this is where Joshua Thomas really shines, just the processing of just the absurdity here, which is there's this punctuated, just this stop. And oddly enough, again, if you want to look at the double entendre periods here, which is later will come into the comedy here, again, it's kind of the period in terms of a pause, and kind of like a dot, dot, dot sort of thing here. Just kind of stopping the action here. Just punctuate with, some music stops here. Because he cheated on you?
And then I just love, like, the sound design ramps right back up and it goes right back into the action.
Again, I love how Josh Thomas is reflecting the intensity and the confidence within the interrogation room. He's capturing almost like a Danny Reagan quality from Blue Bloods. Like a Donnie Wahlberg sort of like he's in it, he's dialed in, but he's also going to make a few jokes. Again, he's really going to dig his heels in and try to get somebody to crack. You have a bit of that too, but also it's kind of acknowledging like because he cheated on you. Just like that bit just conveys it all. It's like this is kind of more of a self-aware procedural.
Oh.
All right, just I got your prince. You were the only one home. Admit it, so we can all go home now. So she calls for a lawyer.
Oh God, lawyer.
And her lawyer comes in, and it's very. I gotta be honest. Here's the thing. Most of my Law and Order references again come from SVU because that's what I'm most familiar with. But I gotta be honest. I don't know if they're pulling from a few sources on this, because I mean, Piper Henson, she's exuding Diane Neal from that show. She's exuding the main VA lady from the one who worked with BD Wong a lot. That's the other reason. You've seen a little bit of SVU, haven't you, for the BD Wong?
Honestly, no. But the fact that BD Wong's on it kind of I had no idea BD Wong was on it. That definitely surprises me.
He's a regular. He's the profiler. I believe he's kind of an outsource from the FBI. Like he'll be in the trial a lot of the time. He'll be like the expert kind of profiler, sort of deal.
Oh.
Okay. Point being, So a very Diane, and the way she looks and everything with the glasses, and they were just going to walk in there, it's like, and the very Diane, and this, opinionated lawyer lady. It's kind of the original procedure, like the opinionated lawyer lady, the opinionated district attorney walks in. Just, walks in there. It's just something along the lines of,
Detective Parks, looks like you've been holding my client without me being present.
Hello to you too, Susan.
I just love how the air in Parks is just kind of deflated. It's just like, all right, I almost got her, but now I have to deal with this.
There's just such a familiarity and cockiness on both sides here. Let's see. So then we have, all right. So now we have, okay. So the Piper Henson now enters, and of course, when folks, I'm gonna give you a little warning, a little piece of advice. If this is just your first kind of taste of the Just Giggle It, all right. Piper Henson is not someone to be trifled with on the comedic playing field. She is someone who she'll deliver the punchline with lead in her boxing gloves. One could say. I mean, my God, she's a chameleon in terms of she's parody fodder in the most important of ways. She's the go-to for the JGI parody. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, the woman's a freaking chameleon, and I can't get enough of it. I mean, again, she can play the kid from The Walking Dead. She can she can play Megan Draper from.
Can't get over her.
She can play Megan Draper from Mad Men. She can do all of it, man.
She plays Coral.
Exactly. It's just, it's wonderful. Anyway, so Piper in here, so she comes in as Susan, and she basically goes for the joke of the whole piece here, and again, it's in good hands with her delivering and Joshua Thomas playing off of it here. It's wonderful. Mm-hmm. She says, "On any normal day, you'd have us dead to rights, essentially, but on any other day of the month, you basically have a very kind of tight case here. If it were any other day of the month, but it's the first of the month."
My client pleads not guilty by reason of menstrual cycle.
Menstrual cycle, yeah. So two things. Okay, one, now this is a big problem I do have with this, though. Okay, and again, this is just something. It's early JGI, and it's a physical. It's kind of it's a production constraint where there's no reason she should be saying my client pleads in the interrogation. All right, you don't enter a not guilty plea in the interrogation room.
Oh God!
Right. Again, and in Law and Order, famously, Teak, I say this.
I totally hear you.
And you got to remember, again, famously, of all shows, Tiki, of all shows, like, and you and I, again, we're very familiar in terms of legalese. We're very familiar with Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul rarely enters a courtroom. I mean, they enter let me put this: we don't enter like kind of the conventional courtroom. We enter like kind of like usually it's the lawyers going up against the judge. We don't really have like a trial and a jury. Rarely do we ever have a jury in Better Call Saul. I believe one case, like the very start of the season. Sorry, the very start of the series, like the only time we've ever seen a jury, if I'm remembering correctly. That might not even be true either. Anyway. Fact of the matter is, like, of all shows, the most famous show showing the cop side of things and the lawyer side of things, it's Law and Order.
Oh God!
Of all shows, it's like I'm not trying to be harsh on, but literally, if you're gonna fudge that detail with any parody, I'm not showing the courtroom with this. And I get to the practical thing is, again, we don't have the comedy. The sketch would be dead if you introduce that semantic into it. But I don't know. Maybe it could have used a rewriter on that detail. I mean, Piper Henson, I think she does an excellent job with writing this one. But that's a glare. I'm sorry, Piper. That is a glaring error, man. I'm sorry. All right,
Oh man, Dragon's not afraid to call Piper Henson out.
No, I mean, again, she's absolutely wonderful, and of course in this, I mean, in terms of the performance, in terms of the writing, in this case, with the exception, this is a huge glaring hole in the whole parody. That's a big problem. Doesn't kill the bit, but it's like a big logic hole. But okay, I'm gonna try to
notice it until you pointed it out. I'm
gonna try to save it here. I'm gonna try to kind of justify it here. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to give it this. Okay, Law and Order, like a CSI. There's actually like a legal term for the. Well, I shouldn't say a legal term. There's kind of like a legal shorthand for CSI, where basically there's a CSI effect, where because of shows like CSI in a courtroom. In a real courtroom, now there's like such a burden of proof for the jury. Basically, now the detectives and the criminalists have to work extra hard in the forensic labs. They have to work super hard to make sure there are no holes in a case because people need extra proof because they've seen so much of it on TV. They have all the questions based on TV. The point being, And those shows, sometimes as great as they are, I'm a big fan of the Vegas CSI before it got to the latter Ted Danson seasons. Big fan of that show, but by the same token, I will admit they do have to fudge details in that show to kind of they take some dramatic liberties. I'd say it's more of a 70-30 split, being generous, but let's be honest, it's kind of a 60-40 most of the time. Point being, things have to change, and it's kind of an effective procedural shows. We have to make things entertaining. Like I highly doubt there are that many car chases on that are on Blue Bloods than there are in real life.
Right.
It's like I'll tell you the procedural thing always drives me nuts when I'm watching Blue Bloods, Tiki. It's whenever they walk up to a suspect, when they're like a distance away for a chase, they always say, "Hey, NYPD, we wanted to ask you a few. You're under arrest. We want to ask you a few questions." Always when they're like that far away, they don't just walk up to the guy.
You're saying that they're giving away the fact that they're NYPD too quickly.
Yeah, so it's like they're cops.
Like move would be to just approach them and confirm their identity.
Exactly. The point being, there's such a distance where they always run away. It's always the runners, and basically the fact that they just walk up to them. Look, I'm not saying they wouldn't run, but at the very least, you'd have a great.
That would drive me crazy too, Dragon. In fact, you just describing it kind of drives me a little crazy.
That's the thing, and look, I love Blue Bloods, but it's like that's the thing. So what I'm getting at here, trying to save the hole in the writing here, is that perhaps, again, just giving it some credence here. Perhaps Piper Henson's holding up kind of a satirical, a parody-like mirror up to the fact that we fudge details in our crime shows sometimes, and perhaps we fudge this detail to have something a little bit more cinematic, or at the very least kind of serve the purposes of the sketch here. Like I'm going to give it that. I'll give it a pass in that regard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, getting back on point. So it's that it's the first of the month, which means my client is claiming not guilty by reasons of menstrual cycle. So of course, just
that takes Paige completely off guard.
I think it's not Better Call Saul. I think you mean Parks.
Parks, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. Parks, yeah. I am
muddying the waters. Well, I guess in this case, we're bloodying the waters. Sorry.
Oh God.
Sorry.
So Parks is caught completely off guard. He's just like, wait, what?
Just this. Oh God, I love what Piper Henson does here. So she just plays the opinionated lawyer. Again, basically, of course, you would speechify many a times in like a Law and Order show. You would speechify. You would have the lawyers kind of really fervently kind of sticking up for their client. But by the same token, again, like doing with all the like she's not an ounce of irony is striking her, and she's playing it brilliantly here, where she's just playing it like, she's playing the parody perfectly here, where it's like she's articulating, why her client is completely scot-free, and what her client suffers from a horrible affliction, and she's speaking very truthfully about it here, but again, not realizing one iota of the ridiculousness of the case that she's pleading here. It's like she's arguing she's arguing the pie sitter defense that Jimmy McGill did, but she's not realizing it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically it's like, this is insane. Insane, is it? Insane to have uncontrollable hormones racing through your body once a month, blood shooting out of things. So, I'm trying to get some of this.
There's some great lines in here, like being so, the devil himself avoids you because you're so crazy.
Yeah, but I love how we can visually read Joshua Thomas's discomfort in the scene. He's looking away while he's trying to strike a dramatic pose, but his eyes are darting away. Like, oh God, I don't want to. I'm thinking about all this stuff. It's just like she's throwing a lot at me right now.
Is that insane?
You crave solid sugar cubes for 5 days straight? Is that sane? I'm sorry, Susan. That sounds awful, but and I love the puns.
And then I love this but, and then he just goes right back into it. That's it's like a little professional courtesy. Like, all right, I have to acknowledge that. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but I'm not going to stand. I'm going to stand my ground on this.
But it doesn't. That's not going to hold up. And Carrie here. Now, here I have a question for you, Tiki. How do you read this line? He says Carrie here. Now, when he says Carrie here, do you think that's a reference like just being covered in blood, or do you think her actual name is Carrie?
I read it as her actual name was Carrie, but it could be a reference or at least just kind of like a nod, just naming the character that.
Well, by all means, I'm saying sometimes, like again, if he's getting all kind of he's getting kind of being a wise guy in the interrogation room, just kind of giving her like a nickname. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It says, so Carrie here killed her boyfriend. Period.
Oh God.
Then of course,
and then this just leads to like Dragon. This is like Seth MacFarlane, like dragged out humor done right.
Yes. So he clarifies it. And of course, it's the age-old joke. It's kind of it's an anti-joke in a way. It's a joke where you explain the joke, and it's just again, it seems like it would be deaf, but it's making fun of it being deaf. There's just not period like her, but
like period, not like period is in punctuation, is in the end of sentence, not period is in vagina blood.
Yep. So basically, just even as Emma Leonard pointed out,
I just love how throughout all of this, we like the two women in the room just have these great reactions. Like, okay, just we get it. All right, digging a hole there. Just digging a hole.
Right. So then we cut to so again, it's basically that's the period to the scene.
It's the period to Josh's performance in this episode.
We don't mean vagina blood, no. So we hear like the news sound. Dun, dun, dun. It's like one of those like sound clips too. It's not like a news broadcast. It's like one of those. It's kind of like one of those kind of live sound library clips. Dun, 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 or many a time in many kind of fan series, many a fan film. I got to be honest. So it's basically we. Oh God! So we have Jamie Cox. We have Jamie Cox. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, we have like the news, and then we see the headlines. So we see the headlines on. We see it's very superimposing. Again, this is all akin to early JGI, and I won't fault him for it. It doesn't kill the bit at all. It's just it's like you can tell like this is them before. Like now, I think this would look a lot better than it would then. Where you can see like they put their articles on top of like some other like kind of news articles that are just very much in there out of focus. And it's like I can tell something's a little off there. So it says something. Basically, the headlines are "Murder She Wrote," period.
Oh God.
Then we have like periods leading to a new defense. Basically, periods being the new defense. Her name is Carrie. Never mind. Okay, so forget what I was talking about.
Yeah. Like I said, if anything, the name itself might be kind of a subtle nod.
Yeah, it's got to be a subtle nod. I imagine. All right, so the other headline says, "Carrie's boo, not the only thing covered in blood." Then we have let's see. So males demand justice, and Carrie doesn't blame God for the menstrual cycle. So then we get Jamie Cox.
Yes.
All right, so we have Jamie Cox as the newscaster, basically kind of doling out some exposition here. Let's see, we have the.
Like I said, Dragon, this is where we get kind of into like, what do you think of this whole like dystopian setup we have? Like to me, this almost doesn't even feel like Law and Order at this point. It just kind of feels like a kind of like an Orwellian future.
You're right. There is a shade of Orwell there, but by the same token, I think they're actually they are actually hitting the procedural button here, because many a time you'll have the procedural where again we have the lawyer going through something within the case, and then we see like, was it worth it? We'll have that was it worth it moment where again it's like they've learned something about themselves through the proceedings of the episode, and now it's like we kind of see that. Here's the thing, because we'll put a pin in it. We're going to get to that scene at the end here. Okay, so real quick. So, by the way, we have the Obama photo, by the way, in this in this newscast, and it's like Obama with a very like pointing too. It's just really, it feels very John Oliver in how it's framed. It's just like you have a newscast and you have like kind of these really comedically chosen photos behind them. I don't know. So the exposition specifically is, it's now the responsibility of all women to be locked away during their time of the month. In other news, I will be on vacation next week. That's a clever joke. I like that. Get it? Because she's gonna need to put away.
Dragon, yes.
Digging it deeper. All right, so that brings us to. So here's the thing. Here's my theory. So again, if this is what here's the thing. So Piper Henson plays this character as well. So here's the question. Now you can tell me what you think of this. Same hairstyle and everything, so, but again, not in a suit. So I wonder if this is Piper Hinson as that same lawyer, as Susan. She's either Susan or she is, because Just Giggle It might have been short on people that day, she is just somebody else.
When I watched the sketch, I just kind of thought it was Susan, and it was just kind of the follow up.
That's the thing. If it's a follow up, then I would attest that it's kind of remaining true to the procedural parody, where it's that she achieved victory, but at a cost, and the cost is she has to be locked in a closet. Well, maybe it's not a closet, maybe it's just a room. The point being, she has to be locked away from her daughter. We have a tearful goodbye, which a really rare thing for a JGI sketch. We have children. This shows you how early in the days of JGI we are here, before they just kind of gave up on putting children in the sketches. The old "don't work with children and animals" kind of cliche of Hollywood, you know?
Yeah, we've seen it a couple other times. I think most famously in the Trick or Treat one.
And Space Jam. Space Jam is the most famous example.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Space Jam was the most... Oh, God, and that one was...
Adolf!
Oh, God. Like, all right. So, yeah, I'm bumbling up-and-coming sketch comedy director Joshua Thomas, and I want to cast your kid as young Adolf Hitler.
Yep. Imagine if he had. Here's the thing. I mean, I'll bet you what the sell was for this. I mean, honestly, I'm going to make a wild guess here. I'm going to guess that the other actor potentially was the. I mean, I don't know. Everyone, they all look so young. I don't know. I'm just making kind of a weird judgment call here, but it's just the fact that I wonder if the other actor who's playing the father, if he's actually the father to the kid. Maybe that's how they got the kid. I don't know. I have no earthly idea. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you have like a kid who's going to be comfortable around a parent, and that's how you get them. But I don't know like how. Again, I still have no idea how Just Giggle goes through. I'd imagine it was a difficult process, which is why they don't do it anymore. Because I don't know how if there's like a union thing, if it's sort of like it's like they can.
I mean, there's definitely a very limited number of hours they can work on set per day. I know that much.
That's what I'm saying. But then we get into bigger questions like how big an operation would JJ be at that point in time when they were using the kids. Like I have no idea. It'd be like if they're friends' kids, I'd imagine they'd be able to circumvent some of that. I have no idea.
Right.
Point being, anyway, so. Point being, imagine if you, regardless, like assuming you were auditioning, imagine you were auditioning kids for this. And imagine what you would what they put down there for the kids. I mean, most likely what it would be is that we need like a tearful goodbye scene between mother and child. Imagine if they had to put down the whole sketch leading up to that.
God.
Like, what are the child's emotions in this scene? Like, why does mommy have to go away? Oh, God. Anyway, so the point being, this scene, though, again, it's a really tearful goodbye between Piper Hinson and her.
I mean, that's the thing, Drake. It ends on a pretty somber note.
That it does, and that's the thing. It's again, it's a legit. It breathes a lot of legitimacy into the absurdity of the whole sketch. Again, it's kind of a perfect melding of the two there, because it's for absolutely ridiculous reasons this is all happening. Yet again, there's some legit emotion there, and again, mother having to say goodbye to her child there. So it's one could say it's so sad. Quote on the Bates. Anyway, so let's see. Oh, so she is cuffed, and it's not only that she's locked away; she's cuffed too. She's cuffed and locked away just for safety's sake.
Right.
I just want to talk about the whole procedural thing of like she won the day, but of course at the cost of now her own life has been impacted by it in a big way. She's changed the law, and then in the terms of obviously she got off a conviction. Obviously she was a murderer, and again she essentially pleaded to it, but again like not guilty by reason of menstrual cycle. So obviously she got a murderer off. So let's not skip around that, right? She got a murderer off. So again she kind of deserves what she gets here. And again, here's the thing. I mean, yes, Tiki, it is kind of Orwellian. But by the same token, though, again, she's just going to be. I mean, it's a question of how long is she locked away?
Well, she said a week, so.
Yeah, I guess that's yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think it's assuming it starts next week. I don't know if they're going to take like any safety precautions or what, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point being, she's going to be locked. The point being, it's an abbreviated amount of time versus like it's not like she's going to prison. It's like she's in the home and she'll probably talk to her through the door if she really wanted to. It's a little bit of logistics there, but still, I mean, it's the separation though. It's the mommy's being put away in cuffs and locked away within her own house.
Don't forget the armed guards.
Yeah, you're right. Armed guards. All right, that's the ending.
Okay, so yeah, Dragon. Just overall, I do think the Piper Henson and Joshua Thomas back and forth, the interrogation stuff is by far the strongest part of the episode. I honestly feel like the ending would land with me more if I was more familiar with the formula of Law and Order, because it does sound like a lot of these Law and Order episodes do have kind of like a grounded, sort of like a realistic, like, all right, we won, but at what cost kind of framework to it. But I don't know. It's just like I felt like after, to be honest with you, when I rewatched the sketch, I kind of just phase out after Joshua Thomas exits the picture, just because I feel like his presence just kind of like brings so much to it, and it's Joshua Thomas playing a hot-headed cop, and that's what more do you need? So I feel like in terms of a Joshua Thoma-thon, a Josh Thoma-thon selection, I definitely think it was a good pick. I definitely think it showed off his comedic chops quite well, and it was it was a good example of him kind of like not necessarily being the main star of an episode, but elevating an episode.
Right. For me, this sketch, I feel to an extent is kind of a marriage of many things. It's kind of a marriage of Brian Wiley's directing of parodies to again, like the Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone also has it's a marriage between Piper Henson's writing, because I mean this writing does feel a little bit like, I mean, yes, there's some shades of You Can't Do That, and a little bit of You Don't Deserve This, which, yes, I know Joshua Thomas is. Remember that? It's kind of trippy. We found out from Katie Garland that one's somewhat um, the credits. There's a little bit of miscrediting on You Don't Deserve This. Well, I shouldn't say that. I should say that there's some additional writers on You Don't Deserve This, because Piper Henson and Katie Garland, they came up with all. It's based on their dating requirements. Remember?
Right. Yeah.
And I bring that up because I feel a lot of the writing in this, specifically with Susan, when Susan's pleading her case there, all of that feels like kind of Piper Henson writing that You Don't Deserve This dialogue. It's kind of going through it. When basically she's listing off all the horrors of the menstrual cycle. That feels very much like kind of Piper Henson's writing style. So we have kind of a marriage of just kind of the parody framework with kind of that Piper Henson flair to the writing and energy behind delivering the lines. But then we have Joshua Thomas, not simply in regards to the in kind of editing the parody, but more so basically he brings the timing to the jokes, but he also he's fueling the parodies, he's basically playing the audience, kind of responding to this and just kind of helping facilitate the jokes and the timing and the absurdity of it all. I mean, he brings that, Wiley brings the authenticity, and as I mentioned, Piper Henson, she's supplying the wit and just the clever absurdist writing. So it's again, like, it still baffle me to an extent why it's not SVU, because again, the whole like sex crimes thing versus, again, this technically would be I mean, again, it's not crime committed out of sex, but again, it's something of a vaguely sexual nature. But I don't know. The point being, I'm not faulting them for not making it SVU, but I'm just saying, like, like period parody and all that stuff. I mean, it feels very SVU-esque. But again, in terms of, it wouldn't be funny if it was SVU, because again, as I mentioned, SVU really skews towards the depressing TV. So the point, I think this, I think what you and I are kind of speaking to, I think you saw a little bit more than I. This may not be everyone's taste, and I can see that easily. I can absolutely see that. This may not be everybody's taste. I do feel that, again, I do feel this one, as opposed to certain other parodies that we'll be getting to sooner rather than later. Not sooner this month, but sooner than I'd like. We'll be covering some less well done, less well conceived and well executed parodies.
Folks, that one is it's definitely we've been trying to keep that one on the back burner for as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes down. Anyway, point being, this one specifically may not be everybody's taste. Because again, it's because that's the thing. It's, let's be honest, little gross to depending who your audience is. Could be relatable, could be gross, it could be getting, again, like the last time I can remember really periods being discussed in kind of in more of a comedic sense. I'm not saying I haven't seen like more smaller sketches, or as we mentioned, like something with super bad, like it being brought up from time to time. But I mean, the last time I saw like a period joke as a focus was like Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, God.
Was they did the whole
Raymond. What's that show? Wait, I don't know anything about that show. That show doesn't exist.
Fine was a certain Phil Rosenthal show that featured Ray Romano and Patricia Heaton. Patricia Heaton joke in which, again, through that episode, she is she's afflicted by her time of the month, and that's again, remember Patricia Heaton on that show. I mean, her likability again is, well, it's dicey to say the least. I mean, that's the thing with that show is Patricia Heaton. Sometimes she rubs me the wrong way a lot because again, it's probably not a procedural, but more like a sitcom kind of practice where it's like you have a sort of like. Again, like we have to make the wife character always has to be at the throw of the mother-in-law character, and we have to have the husband in the middle. And it gets really repetitive after a while, Anyways, the point is like Deborah being in bad sorts again. We phrase it under basically it's like Raymond is in a no-win situation when ordinarily he's in a no-win situation. That to me that's dicey comedy where again it is funny, but still I don't think it's as funny to everybody as it's intended to be. I don't know. The point being. Again, regardless of how you feel about the subject matter, this is a brilliant satire, and it's a brilliant satire in the sense of it almost has like kind of a Nostradamus sort of call that kind of a Nostradamus kind of subject matter that kind of reflects kind of some of our society today in terms of like sometimes people sue over all sorts of ridiculous matters of things they do, and sometimes we do have like ridiculous laws or ridiculous kind of get out of jail free cards that do come about, kind of like what we have here with the menstrual defense. And again, like in terms of kind of like free again, especially in kind of the world we're at today. So again, I think there is a little bit of like a kind of like a call. Then like we're even worse now than we were then. With things like that. And the point is like any call being legitimized, and the point of a law being kind of a law just kind of changing the framework of things now and then having some Orwellian implications. I guess that's what I'm getting at there. So the fact is like we're kind of it's more relevant now than it was when it was conceived, and I think that's something to kind of applaud it for. And again, it does hold a tremendous mirror up to the procedural stuff, not as well as in other aspects, but again, at least in regards to this kind of parodying the procedure, I think it's doing a good enough job. So again, not their best, but again, it's pretty good. All right.
Okay, so round us out, Dragon.
All right, well, it does it for now until our next exciting reach into the Just Giggle It grab bag. Be sure to wear your rubber gloves.
Period.